What's up everybody? Before I start the video, I'd like to thank everyone who subscribed to my channel, liked and commented on my videos. I really do appreciate it. Some of you have even shared my videos, which I've never asked for, so it makes me even more grateful. I thank you guys so much. You guys are the reason why my channel is growing so fast. I did get a lot of requests on this video, which was cool because I really wanted to do it. This one did take me a little longer to finish because of the ending, so without further ado, let's start the video.
I wrote that shot.
What is that?
That's not real that shot.
What is it? Let me just stay on top of this. I know, but I have to stay on top of it. You don't understand. I have to stay on top of it. Stay down so I can run.
You're going to get trampled.
Stephen Paddock was born April 9th, 1953 in Clinton, Iowa, to parents Dolores Hudson and Benjamin Paddock. His mother was described as a good mom. His father, well, he was in his life until he was 7 years old, but Benjamin always had run-ins with the law. In 1946, he was convicted of 10 counts of auto larceny and 5 counts of confidence game, and was sent to prison for 5 years. Once he got out in 1951, he met a woman, Dolores Hudson, and ended up getting married just a year later. They had their first kid in 1953, which was Stephen Paddock. They ended up having 3 more kids, but that never changed his crime spree, as he would rob banks until 1960. When he was finally caught, that was pretty much the last time Stephen saw his father. When the FBI finally caught Benjamin, he ended up running over an FBI agent with his car. Once Paddock was finally convicted, they ended up giving him 20 years, but on December 30th, 1968, Paddock escaped from a prison in El Paso, Texas, and was put on the most wanted list a month later. After he had escaped, he ended up moving to Oregon, where he changed his name to Bruce Warner Erickson. He ended up working as a contract trucker. He was even cited twice for traffic violations, and granted a license to open up a bingo parlor, a center for education, and they ended up taking him off the most wanted list in 1977. In 1978, he was finally captured and rearrested in Springfield, Oregon, and was later released on parole. In 1987, he was charged with racketeering related to a bingo business and fraud for illegal business he had ran rolling back car auto meters by the Oregon Attorney General, but avoided a prison sentence by paying a $100,000 fine.
Don't tell anything but lies. You have never been on my side. Forget it.
Later in life, he was involved in bingo, earned him the nickname Bingo Bruce. During the last decade of his life, he lived quietly in Texas, where he co-owned a car shop with his girlfriend. He ended up dying on January 18th, 1998. Stephen Paddock and his family moved to Tucson, Arizona when his dad left. He moved again to Southern California, where he grew up in lower middle class. He had 3 brothers. His mother raised them alone on a secretary's salary and never explained where their father was. She kept that a secret from the family. According to his brothers, was the boring brother of the family. Never really got into trouble or had mental disorders or delays. He graduated from John H. Francis Polytechnic Senior High School in the Sun Valley neighborhood in Los Angeles, California in 1971. Stephen married his first wife in 1976 and divorced just 2 years later. Spent his 20s and 30s trying to escape the unpredictability of poverty. He worked nights at an airport while going to the California State University, and then had jobs with an intern revenue service and as an auditor of defense contact. But it was real estate that ultimately lifted Paddock financially. He got married once again in '85, but divorced again in 1990. In 1987, he bought a 30-unit building at 1256 West 29th Street in Los Angeles, California, near the University of Southern California, according to property records. Stephen Paddock was an excellent investor, more than doubled his money in California holdings, which included at least 6 multi-family residences. He made money in 2012. He sold his 110-unit building in Mesquite outside Dallas for $83 million. He was a good landlord who kept his rents low. As nice as people say he was also a tough guy who was willing to fight to defend what was his. During the riots in Los Angeles in the 1990s, he went on the roof in his apartment complex with a flat jacket and armed with a gun, waiting for rioters, Frank said. In the 2000s, that's when Stephen Paddock really started gambling the most. He liked being wanted, seeing shows, and eating expensive foods. His brother Eric Paddock said, "You could tell being in the high-limit gambling environment would lift him. Gambling made him feel important, as Paddock would stay at the hotels in Vegas for months at a time. The analysts described him as a mid-level roller, capable of losing $100,000 in one session, which would extend over several days. He wasn't big on slot machines, mainly playing video poker. A gambler like Paddock will often lock a machine, meaning he would monopolize it and make sure no one else uses it during gambling sessions. For one casino promotion, Paddock showed up 2 hours early, locked in 2 machines, played them for 14 hours straight. Mr. Munchkin said Paddock knew the house advantage down to the T, according to a person familiar with his gambling history. He had a $100 credit limit, the person said, but never used the full amount. Paddock spent so much time in the casinos that he was mostly a ghost in the neighborhood where he had homes. He did travel. In 2010, Paddock applied for and received a United States passport. He went on 20 cruise ship voyages, visiting several foreign parts, including Spain, Italy, Greece, and Jordan. He was accompanied by his girlfriend on 9 of them. They went to the Philippines, traveled together in 2013 and 2014. During the last years of his life, he traveled on a cruise to the Middle East. Paddock had his pilot license since 2004 and owned 2 small planes. Paddock's only interaction with law enforcement was a minor traffic citation years before the shooting, which was settled out of court. According to court records, Paddock also sued the Cosmopolitan in Las Vegas in September 2012, claiming he slipped and fell on an obscene object on the floor. He was injured as a result. The lawsuit was dismissed in October 2014. On his 60th birthday, April 9, 2013, he flew to the Philippines on Japan Airlines and stayed for 5 days. His girlfriend lived there, and she was visiting the country at the time. The couple went again for his birthday the following year. Paddock bought his last house in Mesquite, Nevada, a retirement community of 18,000 people, about 90 minutes from Las Vegas, that attracted golfers and gamblers from around the country. He seems to have paid in cash, according to property records, as he did with other houses. He spent very little time there. Paddock was a man that did not want to be seen by his neighbors. During his last months leading up to the shooting, Paddock reportedly smelled of alcohol early in the morning. He was reported to have filled prescriptions for anxiety, drugs such as Valium, of the highest dose of tablets, 10 milligrams. Clark County Sheriff Joe Lombardo said Paddock had been losing a significant amount of wealth, which led him having bouts of depression and heavily drinking alcohol. At his suggestion, 2 weeks before the attack, his girlfriend went to her native Philippines. Paddock bought her a surprise airline ticket and soon later wired her $100,000 to buy a house there. He was spotted in Las Vegas with another woman, reported by investigators to be a prostitute. It was confirmed that she was not an accomplice and was not considered a suspect. Her name has never been released. 2 days prior to the shooting, Paddock was recorded by a home surveillance system, driving home alone to an area for target practice located near his home. September 25th, 2017, Paddock arrived at the Mandalay Bay and books into 32135, a complimentary room on the 32nd floor. 4 days later, he also checked into the directly connected room, 32134. Both suites overlooked the sites of the concert in Las Vegas Village. Between September 25th and October 1st, the days of the shooting, he stockpiled an arsenal of weapons, equipment, ammunition that included 14 AR-15 rifles, 12 had pump stock and 100 rounds of magazine, 8 AR-10 rifles, a bolt action, and a revolver, often help of the bellhop. He brought 5 suitcases into his room on September 25th, 7 on the 26th, 2 on the 28th, 6 on the 30th, and 2 on October 1st. On September 30th, he placed a do not disturb sign on the doors on both rooms. Paddock spent most of his time at the Mandalay Bay gambling before the shooting. Often at night, he interacted with Mandalay Bay employees more than 10 times during his stay, including twice on the day of the shooting. Around 10, Paddock puts L brackets to barricade himself into his room. Jesus Campos, who was hotel security, notices the brackets. At 10:05, Paddock uses a hammer to break 2 windows from both his suites and begins shooting through them. Campos hears the gunshots but thinks it's drilling coming from the room. Paddock then fires through the door of the suite. Campos gets hit in his thigh. At first, he thinks it's a BB gun or a pellet gun. Takes cover, calls Las Vegas Metropolitan Police Department. Paddock fired 1,100 rifle rounds, approximately 490 yards, into the festival audience. Many of the crowd mistook the gunfire for fireworks. During the shooting, police officers were where the shots were coming from. Officers eventually spotted the flashes from the gunfire at the Mandalay Bay and responded to the hotel at 10:12. When the officers arrived on the 32nd floor at 10:17 and encountered Campos a minute later, he directed them to Paddock's room and helped others evacuate. Campos was then directed to seek medical attention for himself. Between 10:26 and 10:30, 8 additional officers arrived to the 32nd floor. Some of the officers manually breached through the doors Paddock had screwed shut with the bracket. The gunfire had ceased, and the police moved systematically down the hallway, searching and clearing each room, using a master key that was provided by Campos. At 10:55, officers finished evacuating the guests. At 11:20, police breached room 32135 with explosives. Paddock was found dead on the floor from a self-inflicted gunshot wound to the head. At 11:27, Officers announced over the police radio that the suspect was down. 58 people were shot to death. 851 people were injured. 422 of them had gunshot wounds. This incident was the deadliest mass shooting committed by an individual in the United States.
Don't be scared. You'll never change what's been and gone. May your smile shine on. Don't be scared. Destiny may keep you on, 'cause all of the stars
Alright guys, if you liked the video, go ahead and give it a big thumbs up. And if you're new to the channel and you like the content, go ahead and subscribe. If there's anybody else you'd like me to do next, go ahead and comment down below. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.